Hello and welcome to Positive Fandom. I am your host, Mmmm. And of course, we have with us today Russ Whitfield. Russ, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks, It's a lovely sunny day here in Lichfield, Maine. A little bit too hot for me, actually. It was like 70 degrees at 7 o'clock this morning, so it was really it's going to be a stinker. So I'm staying in all day. I'm going to hide from it. But yeah, how are you? More importantly,
I'm doing great. After I finish this stream, I am going to be going to the boardwalk. It's a kind of a beachy day, so I'm going to be enjoying the sand and surf and everything I like to do out here. In
hmm
I live in Long Beach, so it's a beach community. So I'm doing great. I can't wait to get out there. And it's great to see you here today, of course. And guys, I have the spoiler at the bottom because we are going to be talking about the Kenobi series season one. So brace yourselves, and I hope you all have, your comments ready about the series. And I do want to say hello to Gunga Galunga, who happens to be a very good friend of mine. Says, just want to be the first to add comment, break a leg this morning. Well, thank you.
thank you.
And he says, if you're taking orders, I'd like 2 side sunny up, corned beef hash, and some wheat toast and a glass of orange juice. And we can give you that. Maybe not right now, but maybe one day. Um, hope you're enjoying your morning. And good morning to you, Tom Jr. Jackson.
Oh, the man, the legend. Hey, Tom.
Yeah, we are all goof people, and always a pleasure to have you here, Tom, my collaborator, friend, moderator, and many, many more things, guys. So do check out Tom Jr. Jackson's channel and his Funko Pop collections and all that good stuff that he does. Gary Banda Sandwich Worthington, how are you today? Now, am I correct in saying that this is the musician, Russell? Is this the
Uh,
gentleman who's a musician?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, I know there was a musician who had said that he was doing a concert or something, but I wasn't sure if it was him. But
Oh
um,
God, yeah, no, God, I was supposed to spend in Wendy's stuff, and then I got sidetracked and I didn't. I'm sorry, I apologize. Yeah, someone was doing an African show, and I was supposed to send Wendy's details, and I didn't, and now I feel like a right heel.
I'm sorry.
Apologies for that. It's probably because you and I got chatting after after the stream and entered it into one of our epic 4 hour conversations, and then deny that it was 4 hours, right?
I can't deny that. It is possible. So we apologize, Gary, but
Apologize.
we love seeing you here, Gary. Happy Sunday to you. And Gary says, I just watched Elvis. Damn, that kid Butler, who stars in the role of Elvis, did a great job. But Hanks was awful and overpowered a great film with cheese. And what a bad direction to put the focus of his character. Also, well, Gary, wow, that is, I haven't heard anything like that about the film. I did hear that the film was amazing. And I'm eager to see that film, which I should be seeing later today. So
Oh,
thank you for letting us know, Gary.
nice one, Gary.
Um, yeah, but it is wonderful to see you here this morning, Gary. I also want to say hello to Retro Nerd Girl. Retro Nerd Girl.
Yay!
She says, hello there, in her best Obi-Wan
Hello there.
impression. And Retro Nerd Girl just celebrated 6 years on YouTube, guys. 6 years.
Happy
So make
anniversary.
sure, yeah, absolutely, guys. Make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe to Retro Nerd Girl's channel, which I'm trying to, yes, there it is. Please do check out her channel. Retro Nerd Girl, I believe, is in the process or is considering making a film. I've encouraged her to do so. I can't wait to see what Retro Nerd Girl would be able to make. I certainly would enjoy that. And please do support Retro Nerd Girl on her channel. We also have Keely Chow.
Hello,
Keely Chow
Keely.
is here. How are you, Keely Chow? Always good to see you in the morning. So glad you're here with us. And we also have Rogue Thinker. Rogue Thinker says, good morning, Art. And Russ. Hello, Tom and chat.
Hey, Rogue.
And we also have Darth Plato. Darth Plato is with us. Hello, Darth Plato.
Salway Darth Plato.
Yes, always good to see you, Darth Plato. Love having you here in the morning. Renz Tolentino is here. Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday.
Hey, Renz.
And guys, do check out Renz's Instagram link. He is a fantastic artist. And you can see in his avatar there photo He certainly does have incredible talent.
Hmm.
Guys, do check out his artwork there. And Hassani Parker is here. He says, hello, well, hello to you. And he's asking if I've read his comic. I have not read your comic, but it is on the list, guys. Hassani Parker is a comic book creator. So please do check out Hassani Parker's comics when you get a chance, everybody.
Can we sling a link up to that in the chat then?
Absolutely. Definitely share your links, guys, to your work. We definitely want to see that here. And Gary wants us to know, he says, I was attending and making a documentary of an event featuring African music last week.
I'm sorry,
So
Gary. I've had a bit of a hectic time. I've just started a new job, and I've just sort of partially moved over to the United States, and there's a lot going on, and I just didn't get to it. I apologize. I think actually last week I was in a hotel room in Philadelphia, wasn't I? Was that the week
you
before?
were,
Yeah, exactly.
you've been globetrotting and, better you than I.
Yeah,
You've been very, very busy. Um, with that. So, but all the same, we are glad to have you here, Russ, as always.
thanks.
Um, Ephraim Guzman is here. Good morning, my fandoms. Well, good morning, Ephraim. How are you?
Hey, Efren, how are you, mate?
And Tom Jr. Jackson says, yesterday at Glastonbury in Scotland, Paul McCartney played the festival, then brought out Dave Grohl, who played in concert for the first time since Taylor Hawkins passed, and then brought out Springsteen. Well, Tom, that sounds like quite a concert yesterday. Definitely an amazing festival. I've always wanted to go to Glastonbury or
It's not in
Creamfields.
Scotland though.
Yeah, I know. I know it's cold, right? It's like it's cold
No,
there now.
Glastonbury's in the south of England. It's in a big farmers field. I went one year, and it
Mm.
was the year of the mud. I think that's every year though, isn't it?
Mud fields. I know this.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, I've heard good things about Glastonbury this year. That's a nice one, Tom. That's awesome.
Yeah, maybe Tom will see you sending us a picture from Glastonbury one of these
Mm.
days, Tom. Um, and Tom is showing the link for his channel, guys, his Instagram, his Funko Pop pics. Do check out Tom Jr. Jackson's Instagram photos there, guys. I can't wait to see those. They are amazing what he does with his Funko Pops. So, what I was going to say is it's great to see you all here this morning. Obviously, we are going to be talking about Kenobi season 1 that is just wrapped up. And, Gary says he's watching it from his couch.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's the best way to do it, Gary.
yeah. And,
You don't
I
have to
think
queue
that's,
up for the Kazi, and you can get a beer whenever you like.
yeah, absolutely. That sounds fantastic to do. And if it rains, you don't have to worry about the rain. So for me, the rain is a big deal. I've gone to tons of outdoor festivals and been in the rain, and I just can't take the rain anymore. So I have to stay dry now. It's a thing. So once it starts to rain, I go home or duck and cover, whatever you want
Hmm.
to call it. Long gone are the days of singing and being soaking wet. I can't do it. So I'd have to watch from the comfort of my home. And I do enjoy that, Gary. Let us know if you see anything that stands out that you enjoy. And so today we're talking about Kenobi season 1. Now, Russ, you have seen all of the Kenobi series. Am I correct?
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, yeah. I made a point of watching it specifically for the Positive Fandom podcast. Well, what did you think? We missed, we didn't talk about episode 4 last week, so we kind of need to cover 4 and 5, or I guess we could just sort of do a milieu and give our overall thoughts. But I'd like to hear what you've got to say. What did you think about the the fourth and fifth episode? Did it deliver? Was the final episode, that massive turning point that everyone hoped and prayed it would be? And gave us all the answers to all the questions that we didn't know we even wanted to ask.
Well, it's a good question about this whole thing, and did the second half of the series deliver? And just trying to figure out what direction they were going. I think as soon as we realized that the Leia arc was going to be pretty much the entire show,
Hmm.
the Leia arc was the whole show. From the first I think it was the first episode when she first appeared and was kidnapped, I think, to pretty much the end when he delivers her Lola unit to Alderaan. Yeah, it really was a very, very long progression about Leia, which is
Hmm.
okay. But I had no idea it was going to be that focused on her in that way. Um, and, of course, we have Riva, who had the unfortunate experience of being a new character. We know who Leia is. So there's no, we don't have to wonder what she's like or what to expect or the background. We know everything practically about Leia. So as from a character standpoint, it's easier to introduce Leia as a character. But when you have somebody like Riva, who is completely new, we'd never heard of this character before, and
Mm.
she is getting a decent amount of screen time in the series. They needed, she almost, Riva almost needed her own series before she came into the series
Yeah,
because the
I could go with that. I think they tried to do too much with that one character, and what they, as we have discussed, what they did do with her was pretty poor. So yeah, as Darth Plato says.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that, we're seeing is essentially this sense of, and I think that the difficulty in trying to achieve what they did is apparent because at the end of episode 6, where Riva is finally at a point where she is sort of she's at Tatooine after being stabbed,
Hmm.
and after she manages to get to Tatooine, we don't know how she got there, but after she gets there, it's sort of like a frantic race for Ben to go there and protect Luke. And then, out of nowhere, Reva kind of makes a decision that she's not going to harm Luke. But, in all honesty, when she shows up to Tatooine after the stabbing, this crazy fight that she has with Vader, which is kind of like him playing with a little puppy or a kitten or something.
Mm.
Um, and she's spared, right? She's kind of spared. She gets stabbed, but she's spared
Yeah,
because getting stabbed in the stomach in Star Wars does not necessarily mean that
unless you
you
unless you're
are
Qui-Gon, and in which case it does.
correct. And I think what happens is that the person has to be willing to die at that moment. I think that's what it is, but I'm not sure. This is just something that I'm trying to justify in my mind. When she arrives at, and kind of kidnaps, well, she doesn't kidnap Luke. She chases him. It's clear that she's very confused. And something that I noticed that they did was that through the entire series, she's primarily wearing black, but in that last episode, she's wearing a brown colored robe.
Hmm.
And that almost indicates to me that although she's there, to do something or to say something or to cry for help or whatever it is, she's not fully decided where her stance is. And I think that it's pretty apparent when she sees Luke, like she looks like she's chasing him, but then her heart's not really in it, and you end up with a character that has this confused motivation. When you're trying to put them into a story where they probably were not in originally. I think that the story was written, but she was not in the story at all, and that they inserted her in here. And if you remove her from the story, you still have a story.
Mm.
It just doesn't have her in it. She's not an essential character in this entire show. So, technically speaking, you could remove that character from the show as an Inquisitor, and it could be a separate series, the Inquisitors, and then she could appear briefly in part of this, but having her as more of a central character, I think was a mistake. And it becomes apparent on episode 5 when she gets stabbed and then she reads a little thing, and I'm thinking to myself, this whole part was added an additional part to the story that weakens the series. So for me, the biggest mistake was to have Riva in there at all. And then the only other thing that I truly am looking at it from an analysis point of view is that weakened the writing tremendously, but also some little ridiculous stuff like checkpoints that you could walk around, or hiding somebody under a coat, or even the parts where Obi-Wan is sort of like hiding from Inquisitors along the side of a wall, and he's like, oh, they can't see me, so therefore they don't know I'm there. And I'm thinking to myself, Inquisitors aren't stupid. They know you're there.
Yeah,
you
they're
know he,
very they could the very point of them is they're supposed to be able to sense the force. Yeah,
yeah,
you know.
so those little things that we just wouldn't fly. Like, I would like to have seen him evade an Inquisitor and not hide behind a wall, but to do something else.
Hmm.
And I don't know whether it was very fruitful to see Riva chopping off someone's hand or scaling up a wall like Spider-Man or whatever villain that can do that. But she was a character that they didn't do right by, and the writing was incredibly subpar, and it hurt the series. So that's how I'm kind of looking at this now. What about
Yeah.
you, Russ? What did you think of it?
Well, I can honestly say that I thought that the series was an absolutely unqualified smash hit success in terms of for Disney. Everybody watched it. So, you know, Disney don't seem to care anymore about what they're doing with this franchise or with any of their franchises. It would seem it's all about eyes on. So I think from that perspective, you've got to hand it to them, right? We all watched it. Some people loved it. More people thought it was hot garbage. It's interesting. I'm 51 now, and I was chatting to a guy who's a bit of a nerd as well at this new job that I started. And Callum's, I don't know, he's in his 20s, but late 20s, early 30s, something like that. And he said, so what did you think of Obi-Wan? Like he texted me on, on our internal chat, and I said, and I was giving it all that, and I told him exactly what I thought of Obi-Wan, and he was like, whoa, dude. Um, and I was pointing out like massive holes in the canon, like General Obi-Wan Kenobi years ago. You served my father in the Clone Wars. All of that stuff that we've been calling out, of Star Wars fandom has been calling out as causing issues with established canon. And he was like, "Oh yeah, no, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, you make a good point." And I sort of realized through the course of this conversation with this younger guy, and then I went back and I was looking at the Star Wars wars that are going on Facebook, because I'm old and that's the channel that I use. I'm not on Well, I am on Instagram, but I hardly ever go there. It's the same argument being played out over and over and over again. So you've got older fans who grew up with this stuff and are really sort of gatekeeping it and getting really bent out of shape. Old men shouting at clouds. Like, we really care about this. And the younger generation, I can't speak for all of the younger generation, but it was like, a straw poll of one. And Callum was like, "Oh yeah, no, but cool, I really enjoyed it." And I was like, "Well, I just couldn't enjoy it for those reasons. The canon busting reasons for a start. I think what's more to my disappointment about this is not even so much that they break the canon. It's just the quality of the writing and the fact that we are expected to go along with stuff that just patently doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And they're going to shine a lightsaber in our eyes and throw a member berry in and try to sort of distract us from actually what's going on. So in episode 5, okay, when the rebels are in that sort of mountain base, all right, it's got an open top so they can get their ships out. So the Empire sends the little droid thing, and it goes and it closes the lid. Fine. 5 minutes later, there is Reaver and all the stormtroopers trying to melt the door down. Well, hang on a minute. You just shut the lid of the. If you want to get in, there's a massive hole in the top of this place that sees the high ground. I mean, that's like a Star Wars thing, isn't it? And I'm sure if you've got stormtroopers that are snow troopers and scout troopers and biker troop and all these you must have drop troopers that you could just drop in through the hole in the roof. You could drop in a load of sleep gas. You could do all sorts of things because they've got this massive hole that. So there's that. That's just one example of like what are they actually thinking? What are they doing? Oh, it's so frustrating. And then you have on the other side of it, you've got in performances like Ewan McGregor's, performances like Indira Varma's, who sort of are trying to elevate this nonsense, and and almost manage. So I feel like that there's some the thing about this is there's some cool moments in it. There's some really cool things that go on, but everything that's going on around it, it's just rubbish. It's insulting to the intelligence, and that's not me even gatekeeping. This is just like watching the show and thinking, why why did they make that decision? What This has no logic, and that's your biggest sin. It's the same criticism I have of the Rise of Skywalker. If you are going to deconstruct Star Wars, fine, go and do it. That's okay. We can bear that, but you have to tell a logical story in the process of doing that. Otherwise, your grand work, your magnum opus, and all the rest of it is going to go out the window. Like,
Mhm.
I'll give you a Last Jedi example. They're chasing the rebels through normal space. The rebels have got their hyperspace disabled. You've got about 95 star destroyers who do have hyperspace enabled, and they're just trolling along after. We'll never catch them this way. Well, no, I'll tell you what, guys. How about you engage your hyperspace on two of your star destroyers, jump forward, and then just catch them in a sandwich and destroy them? It's literally that simple. I thought of that sitting on my ass on the couch, and it's the same thing. Excuse me. It's the same thing that happens in the Kenobi series. So here we are. We're back in the Last Jedi situation. We've got Darth Vader on his star destroyer, um, chasing the rebel ship as it's going away. Then Obi-Wan, makes this sacrifice, and he decides now that he's going to leave. And the Grand Inquisitor turns around and goes, "Well, listen, we better keep on after these rebels." And Darth Vader's like, "No, we must chase him." And I'm thinking, well, you're in a Star Destroyer. You have squadrons of TIE fighters. Okay, so why don't you send out a couple of squadrons of TIE fighters to disable the rebel ship and leave it floating in space and board it, just like you did in Star Wars? Like a couple of years later, 10 years later, you do that. You do this. Um, then the Star Destroyer turns aside, goes and chases Obi-Wan, and then Vader says, "No, I will face him alone." And then he gets in his ship, and so why didn't you do that 5 minutes ago and leave the Star Destroyer chasing the rebels? Then they get to the planet, and the first words out of Vader's mask is, "Have you come to destroy me?" Dude, no, you literally just chased him to that planet to destroy him. 5 minutes before this, Obi-Wan turns around and says, "Either he dies or I die." And then they have this pretty good lightsaber fight that, of course, they ruined with crap editing of switching backwards and forwards between the two situations. And 5 minutes after saying either he dies or I dies, and yeah, this is spoilers, so if you haven't seen this, I'm sorry. Um, Obi-Wan opts to leave Darth Vader alive after saying to his face, "Then my friend is truly dead, Darth." So okay, that separation is now made. So kill the Sith. That's your pretty much your purpose as a Jedi, is to save the galaxy from this evil. Yet you walk away and leave him alive. And there are so many instances of that. Yeah, I just reeled it off. And I can think of so many others. It's just nonsense. It's just nonsense, and it upsets me because they have all of this. Look, here's another thing. The best thing about this show, this entire season of this show, was the flashback on Coruscant with younger Obi and younger Anakin having a sparring match where he says, "Oh, your will to win is too much." Now, of course, we know this, and this point has been overstated. And you're spending tens of millions and millions of dollars on this show, and you can't be bothered to de-age Hayden Christensen. You can't be
Yeah.
bothered to spend a couple of $100,000 on doing that, but you'll spend money on all this other nonsense. It's just very, very, very disappointing. I think, even if we go with, okay, it can break canon, fine, because I've got some thoughts on that I'd like to discuss with you later on. Um, but to have criminally bad writing and expect us to just swallow it because Star Wars is, yeah, it's unforgivable. That's
Yeah, there's there
my opinion.
you make a lot of good points, and they certainly did make mistakes. And those mistakes kind of made it first of all, overall, the writing is just a kind of a generic show because it wasn't sort of like groundbreaking or blown you away or anything like that. Although the fight scenes I think were amazing.
Hmm.
But those errors really makes the series less palatable. You're watching it, you're enjoying yourself, and then they follow up with uh, the walk around
Walk
checkpoint,
around the barrier thing.
and
Yeah.
you think to yourself, I was enjoying this up until now.
Yeah.
They did something, or you're enjoying it, and then Leia walks out with Obi under the same trench coat. And you think to yourself, this was good, but why did they do that? It's very reminiscent of the Vespas in the Book of Boba Fett, where
Mm,
you're kind of like, why did they do that? And it is kind of unusual. I do just want to say point out some of these messages from you guys. I have
yeah.
not forgotten you all. Darth Plato says, should not have tried to do both a Riva and Obi-Wan story at the same time. And Husani Parker wants to know if you're related to Andy Whitfield of Spartacus.
That's quite an interesting question. No, no, I'm not. But I did write a bunch of books about a female gladiator just before actually Spartacus, Blood and Sand came out. So back in the day, that was a thing. People kept writing to me going, "You related to Andy Whitfield?" And sadly, if I had that man's good looks when he was alive, yeah, he was a very handsome chap. But no, no, I'm not. And he passed away way too early. It was really really sad. I loved the first season of Spartacus. Actually, in fact, I loved all the seasons of Spartacus, but it was a real shame watching seasons the two proper follow-ups to that, because they had Gods of the Arena in between as filler, while Andy, they were hoping he was going to get better, and of course he didn't. um it was always bittersweet watching Liam in that role, because you kind of knew that Andy had made it his own. And yeah, and Andy Whitfield had a such a nice quality. Yeah, he was stunningly good looking. I mean, he was, well, really good looking, but he had this really likable quality about him. There's something that endeared him to me anyway. Our names aside. But no, I'm not.
Interesting. Darth Plato mentions that he didn't buy the Reva turnaround, but he thought the season was a plus. There was legitimate criticism. And Rogue Thinker says the terrible thing about Reva was that the writers made her a horrible screaming person with nonsensical motivation from the start. And that reminded me a lot of what they did with Finn when they made him call out Ray so many times. Also, Efren Guzman has his own YouTube channel. Guys, go ahead and check out Efren Guzman's channel. Like and subscribe it, as I am also asking you to do for mine, guys. Definitely check out Efren Guzman's channel. Darth Plato goes on to say, but Vader alone boosts the series to a degree. I have to agree with Darth Plato on that. I think that they did Vader incredibly in the series. What did you think, Russ? Do you think they handled Vader and his situations well in this Kenobi series?
No, I think they made him look like an idiot. And that's really upsetting when it comes to Darth Vader, because he just makes idiotic decisions all the time. Like I was just pointing out about the Star Destroyer chasing the rebel ships. Again, with Vader, he had some really really cool moments, like watching him getting taken down by Obi-Wan. The way, and I think this was done in one of the cartoons or something like that. But he sort of takes him apart, like he cuts his back and then cuts the arm, and then of course the mask comes off. All that stuff was really cool, but I just feel that they diminish Darth Vader by the decisions that he makes. Like in the fourth episode, um, i- the rebel ship is attempting to escape, and Darth Vader does this epic move where you think, Jesus, I didn't realize he was that powerful. He like holds the ship in place, and then he starts doing all this, and all the bits and pieces come flying off the ship, and you're thinking, wow, that's awesome. That was like such a cool moment. And then the other ship takes off, and he just watches it go. You think, well, hang on a minute. Why did you do? Whoa, do that again? Okay, well, maybe he's knackered. And then Reaver comes up and tries to kill him, and then he's like, "No, I know, I knew all along." And then he gut stabs her, and the Grand Inquisitor sort of turns up as well. and they leave her for dead. And you think that you know, Darth Vader would have killed her. He would have absolutely killed her, not just left her for dead. You know, like, and then the whole, you know, have you come here to destroy me line. And then we go back to the third, I think it was the third episode, where he just lets Obi-Wan walk off. Now, if you're writing, you've written all the scripts before the series goes into production. So someone in that writer's room should have asked the question, well, if we're going to have him ripping the doors off and holding an entire starship with his engines burning in place, surely he's got the wherewithal to force pull a robot with his deadliest enemy back. It's no. So had some really smooth moments, and I'm trying to find the positives in this. So yeah, combat was awesome, but no, they diminished Darth Vader. Having said that, James Earl Jones and Hayden Christensen did the best with, you know, with what they were given. But ultimately are I really just think it was the wrong show that told the wrong story. Um, because I think more people are bent out of shape with it than like it. That would be my guess. Just looking at the stuff on that I saw on Facebook, you know, and what I've seen of the riposts to the criticism, it's never really anything that you can that's backing up or defeating these arguments of, you know, well, why didn't they drop in through the top, or why did Darth Vader do that, and so on. It's more, well, you're just a man, you know, a person with a neck beard, and you're just a gatekeeper, and you know, you don't understand new Star Wars. It's always like a personal attack against the critic, as opposed to rebuffing their points, because there's no way around it. This was poorly done, with all the money in the world, and they just delivered this, but as an unqualified success in terms of eyes on. Um, it's something that Robert Meyer Burnett often says, and I find myself in agreement with Robert on many things, but this one especially. I think the problem with Disney Star Wars as a whole is that it is this corporate storytelling that they feel that they can't take any. Now look at Maverick, Top Gun Maverick, right? Tom Cruise is putting it all out there. He is taking risks physically, creatively, you know, bringing back a franchise after, you know, 1,000 years, because we're all 1,000 years old now, you know, bringing it back, not relying on CGI, practical effects, pushing the envelope, you know, it's creative. And the thing about Kenobi was it just wasn't creative. It's literally like going to the Star Wars toy bucket, rummaging through it, pulling out Darth Vader, pulling out Princess Leia, you know, pulling out Ben Kenobi. It- and then, okay, well, so we got these characters we'll throw into a story. What would have been brave would to have done something entirely different. There was some stuff in the Clone Wars, or Rebels, I believe, and you would know this better than me because I'm not really up on the animated stuff. That they had this whole arc of Obi-Wan Kenobi at one point prepared to leave the Jedi, for a woman that he fell in love with. You have the Kenobi novel, which apparently is really really good. You've got all of this canon or decanonized stuff from the expanded universe that Disney came out and stated this is no longer canon, but they're happy to lift and rip off from. Uh, if you're happy to say it's not canon, but you're going to use it, then use it and use it well, or tell a somber story about. I think Rob calls it a man with survivor's guilt, something like that. Just have him going on some sort of quest to sort of find himself. Forget about Princess Leia. Forget about Luke Skywalker. You know, we'll come back to them later. But I do have a solution to this. But I would like to hear your thoughts, on what you think. Do you think that this was the right show, or do you think they should have done something different? Do you see a future for this, or do you think they should just leave well alone now and just get on with something else?
I am going to give you my opinion. I'm going to read some more of these comments.
Sure.
I've fallen behind, but Rogue Thinker says, not killing a child after beating up and terrorizing a family doesn't make you a good person. And Uptown 2525. Hello, Uptown 2525. Thank you for tuning in. They say they tried to blind us with lightsabers to mask the horrible writing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am Uptown said what I was saying in about, you know, a million words. He just said it in a short sentence. That's basically it. Yeah.
Darth Plato says, I like the idea of an Order 66 survivor wanting to trick Vader into getting closer in order to kill him. It's a great angle, but they went overboard making Reva as evil. And he says they should have revealed that she wasn't evil from the very beginning. Um, and of course, guys, check out Renz Tolentino's link, guys, for his Instagram photos and his incredible art. Tom Jr. Jackson says that he enjoyed the series.
And that's great. I mean, I think, if we can just pause there for a minute, I think the point about this is I don't want to, and nor could I, but if you enjoy it, that's brilliant. But I just find that these things, even if I take the show at face value and say, okay, forget about one, the proper Star Wars, forget about that, just try and get into this. I can't, because it's so bloody obvious that how did Reva get off the planet? How did she get to Tatooine? Why was she going after Luke? For what reason was she doing this? Well, the reason was they had to have Obi-Wan and Reva meet, and for her to sort of, turn to the light side and all that. Yeah, okay. Well, there's absolutely no reason for Vader to have spared her life, and B, let's just say she escaped and climbed into a hole or something like that. There's no reason for her to go to Tatooine. It's like literally the last place you would go. I'm just gonna magic up a ship from somewhere, and I'm going to go and kill this 10-year-old boy. Why? Because, and no one can explain this to me. No one can explain to me how she got off the planet and why she wanted to kill Luke Skywalker from a garbled voicemail.
Yeah, and I have something else to say about that too, is that I had said that what they could have done is just had her masked and you couldn't see what she looked like for a good portion of the series. And then finally, when she unmasked herself, you can figure out that she's the youngling that was in the Jedi Temple that you saw in the beginning. It would have been a reveal.
They should hire you.
And I also thought that her outfit could have been sexier. They should have put like a silver. I think she needed silver. I was trying to figure out what would have been good with the black, like a silver V, and then another silver V kind of like near her pelvic area, just to make her look badass, to have like these angles. And because I figured it out, because I think for a lot of people watching it, if you like women or you like to see women look good, you're going to watch a lot of these series and say, well, that's a good looking woman. She's not an unattractive woman, but that outfit didn't do much for her. And it wasn't until I think right before she got stabbed by Vader that I saw, it's like she kind of has a really nice figure, and you couldn't see a lot of it in what she was wearing. And it's true that the outfits kind of hide your figure, but in this case, I think they should have shown it and played up to her assets. No pun intended, but just to play up to her beauty as well. So I think it would have been very interesting with the mask on, but with those, the V's there, and then kind of directing you away from what her intention is, what's, her master plan. Let's say if she was doing this, when she discovers the thing from Obi-Wan Kenobi, she could fly down there, and while she's pursuing Luke, she could take off her mask, and she could go through that trauma of being a youngling and everything like that, and they'd be like, well, what are you doing here? And they could possibly figure out a story there at that point. Or she could just go away. She doesn't necessarily have to reunite with Luke, but they wanted to make her have a Luke connection. And my thought was that the reason why they did that is because, maybe she's going to hang around and maybe Reva's going to help Obi-Wan with Luke. It's like, it's almost like they were kind of implying that. Why would she go to Tatooine if she wasn't going to do something evil, which I just don't believe she was ever going to do?
No, nobody believed it. And that's the point. And to your point about we spoke about this offline, and I'll bring it up here. I just think she was just miscast. They were trying to make a person that isn't imposing and intimidating, and she just isn't. She's, whether it's the writing, the directing, or the performance, that was a foul. I said to you yesterday, imagine Charlize Theron in that role, right? She's tall, she's intimidating. I can see her doing intimidating. I can see her pulling it off.
Yes.
And they've got more money than God. I mean, they could have got her if they'd have wanted to. But I just wrong choice anyway. But we're falling behind on the.
No, it's okay. Gary says watching Disney shows now is like the greatest fail of the modern era. I can't read the rest of the
entertainment. Modern era of entertainment. Yeah.
And Uptown 2525 says an Inquisitor kills Jedi children and families, and we're supposed to believe she can change. Stubble McShave is here. Hi, Stubble.
Hey,
Hi,
Stubble.
good to see you. Obi-Wan spun around a lap and ended up in the same mental spot as at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Things that happened was setting up Reva, Obi-Wan learning Vader survived, and that Leia knew nothing else. And Gary says not enough pie cases and pastry for my member berry pie.
Yeah,
Darth Plato says, on the other hand, some Pete's commented that Obi-Wan was getting the TLJ Luke treatment. Oh, The Last Jedi.
yeah.
I never believed it.
Can I
And
address that? I think we spoke about this before on this Darth Plato. I don't think that they were. I think they were setting us up for what happens to Luke. That was almost like an apology. You see, an apologist methodology. You see what happens when you disconnect yourself from the Force. It's not just Luke that turns into a grumpy old git. It's also this is what happens. It almost seemed like they were getting their digs in about that. That was my feeling. But you know, if you disagree, cool.
yes, very, good point. And Rogue Thinker says they try to distract from terrible writing with stealing lines and situations from nostalgia. Stubble says it's always going to be difficult to do a good Kenobi series that focuses on Vader. And I lost my spot. Wow, I really
I
am
got
gonna.
it. Their hands are tied. There are so many things they can't do. Agreed, Stubble. If you go down the route of going through the Star Wars toy box and taking out all your old toys, do what the Mandalorian did to such great success. Do something different and maybe chuck in an old toy right at the end. Yeah.
And Eric Gant is giving us the opposite view, and I'm glad you are. Hi, Eric Gant. Thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate your comments, guys. It's odd that people can't believe Reva can be redeemed from being an Inquisitor, but they're fine with Vader being redeemed from a youngling killing Sith Lord. I think I would have believed it more if it was over a certain period of time. At least for me, that's how I would have liked to have seen it, rather than, let's say, in what they did. And this is what they chose to do with this Reva character. Um, she doesn't really feel like she has a strong footing in one direction or another,
Hmm.
and that's solely because of the writing in the series. So I think that if they had given us a proper setup for this character, and it was a solid setup, something that made sense to not just us but to the character itself, we could have gone in. We would have been all in with it. But it's difficult for me to jump on because it just sounds so for her to kind of switch sides in this way. It didn't come across as believable for me, and it felt very unrealistic. I think a lot of people felt that way. It's not that remember, she's not redeeming herself. She was supposedly good all along, right? That's what we're talking about.
Well, I don't. I can't tell because at the first couple of episodes, she was mad to kill Obi-Wan. You know, she was going through the streets, chopping people's hands off, and doing all this stuff just to try and find the guy. And then all of a sudden they have this like heart to heart on the other side of the door, and now she's not. So I don't really know. And as I say, if you take in the sort of running to Tatooine to kill Luke, even though nobody believed that she would actually do it, because of course she wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if she was supposed to be evil from the beginning or had she turned to the dark side. And you
I
know,
think it indicated that she was always intending to kill Vader. That's what I thought that Obi had said at the door. You don't want me, you want Vader.
yeah, he
So
sussed it out, which is
yeah,
amazing that the Grand Inquisition didn't suss that out.
yeah, it
Uh,
is amazing, isn't it?
that he could pick it up within a couple of seconds, um, and Vader always knew anyway. Uh, I don't know, because if he always knew, then why would he let her go ahead with a mad scheme? He's got other inquisitors to find Obi-Wan that aren't out to betray him, that do want to bring him the head of Obi-Wan on a platter. So why would he indulge this
Mhm.
convoluted plot to, as opposed to just offing her? I mean, and we know that uh, Vader's got a short temper, like he killed Admiral Ozzel for coming out of hyperspace too early. Goodness sake! And yet this one's allowed to sort of plot behind his back and plan to kill him, and he's cool with
Yeah,
it.
He choked a guy for saying, "I think that this Jedi stuff is, a fantasy world and never existed." And he choked a
Yeah.
guy,
Don't
over
try
that
to scare us
for a
with your sorceress ways, Lord Vader.
snarky remark.
Yeah.
So, but Eric Gann, thank you so much for sharing that. We love when people bring in new ideas and comments.
Mhm.
We appreciate you doing that. Rogue Thinker says there's a difference between redemption and what Reva did. I don't think she needed to be redeemed because she's apparently been trying to get Vader back all this time. But maybe, kind of chopping people's arms off and killing, like Jedi out there might be considered, deplorable actions.
Mhm.
I have to laugh about it because of how casually it was done in the show. Like, at least if she was like, showed some remorse about having done that. And I guess she does at the end, but I'm not quite convinced. It just might be at the acting as well, for me, that Obi-Wan should have killed both Vader and Reva. A lot of
Absolutely.
people are saying that, Rogue Thinker. You said
Absolutely.
it, Russ.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely he should have done. That's the point of a lightsaber fight, is to kill your enemy. It's not even like a sword fight, where you can it's a these the most fearsome weapons in the galaxy, handheld weapons in the galaxy, right? He absolutely should have killed him and her. That would have been like it would have been an epic thing at the end of the show if she like tried to be redeemed and he's going, no, you've gone too far, and chopped her head off. That might have been like a cool moment, knowing as we do that he can't kill Darth Vader, which again circles back round to this was just the wrong story. It's just the
yeah.
wrong story to have told. We know that they haven't met, we know that they haven't fought, and you can't shoehorn that stuff in.
And Eric Gann and Road Thinker, thank you for bringing this whole point up and talking about the differences in
Mm,
this. It's certainly something that we could talk about for quite some time, because now, we're in a position where we have to go back and think about how many atrocities have been committed and how far have they gone. Has she killed other people too? And are half of those Jedi that are in that amber tomb because of Reva? These are all things that we have to think about. And I don't think it's easily answerable, just here, but it's something to think about, gentlemen. And I really do like that. Also, Uptown 2525 says they pretty much made Obi responsible for blowing up a whole planet. Why? Is he talking about
well,
Alderaan?
if Obi-Wan kills Darth Vader in that moment, then Obi-Wan, Darth Vader then doesn't allow Alderaan to
Right.
get blown up. Even I think that was Grand Moff Tarkin's decision in the end. But basically, you've got the most evil man in the galaxy, utterly defeated at your knees, the most powerful Force user at your knee. Oh, cheers,
Hi,
Hans.
Hassani.
Yeah, bye bye. You've got him at your mercy. You don't walk away at this point. In the same way that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were at, Obi-Wan didn't have any hesitation cutting Darth Maul in half, did he? And Darth Maul hadn't done half the bad stuff that Darth Vader had
True.
done, and they ganged up on him, and they took him out. So
Guys,
why now wouldn't you do it? Unless if they'd have put in a line like, "No, I can't, but I can sense that there's still good in you," something like that, like what Luke says, and then he walks away. But no, he literally, because they're trying to paper over the "only a master of evil" Darth line. So he goes, "No, then my friend is truly dead." Well, then if your friend is truly dead, you've got no recourse. You have to kill him. But if he backs out and goes, "Oh, look, no, Anakin, you're still there," and there will come a time, or something, I don't know, I'm spitballing, but it doesn't. He literally says, "I'm going to kill him." Oh no, I'm not. And there's no reason for him not. But the lightsaber fight was cool, and everyone's making fun of the anime moment when Obi-Wan lifts it and all the stones and all that sort of thing. And if we could just can ignore the fact that Darth Vader can at one moment um, rip starships apart, and the next moment is going ow, 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 ow when rocks are getting thrown at him. Fine, fine. It was the fight was epic. They spoiled it with shaky cam, and they spoiled it with these nonsense overhead shots. They ruined it. But for what we saw of it, it was cool. It was a decent lightsaber fight. I liked how it was kind of like the one in Revenge of the Sith, but they'd obviously got a little bit older, so they weren't as fast and they weren't as slick, and they were a little bit out of
hmm
practice. And
hmm
what I thought was really cool was force blocking. I just thought that I'd
Yes.
never seen
Like
that before.
zzz.
Yeah, I don't know if it was in the cartoons or not, but I just, like there's this bit, and Obi-Wan sort of does this sort of circular cut, and he's going to cut Vader in half, as he did with Maul, and Vader just reaches down and blocks it, and then he attacks, and
Mhm.
Obi-Wan blocks it, and they were pushing each other around. That was so your powers of return. It was all quite Darth Vaderish, but these are just like, little bits of, you know, gr- diamonds that you're trying to pick out of the rough, trying to find good bits about the show.
No, you make so many good points. And, we do know, and guys, please subscribe to Eric Gantz's channel, guys. Eric has a YouTube channel. Please do check it out. He has so many great ideas and videos.
Mm.
Do subscribe to Eric Gant. We have so many great comments from Eric today. We do want to thank him for that. And Mario Lopez is here. Hello,
Hey, Mario.
Mario. It's so good to see you. Retro Nurgle says, I'm critical of the series, but enjoyed it immensely. I am definitely reviewing the series. So guys, check out Retro Nerd Girl's channel. When she does her review, all of your points are valid. And I did want to say, I was watching a video earlier today that made a point to show that Darth Vader, can stop laser blasts with his hands, right?
Yes.
And in the last season of the Clone Wars, we saw that before he became Vader, Anakin can kind of sense where laser blasts are going to be and avoid them using the force. So,
Mm.
He can tell as soon as someone commits to a direction with that lightsaber, he can kind of tell which direction they're going in and he can stop that. So, it was nice to see more use of the force. And, Russ, you made a good point about the rocks, like they want to see these rocks. And, I kind of joked around and said, well, when Darth Vader injured Obi, they had to figure out, well, we can't have him cut off an arm or a leg or anything like that. We can have him burn him, And I'm sure there's 100 other things that could be done, one person to another that could really hurt, either individual. But, it was interesting to see Darth Vader kind of just standing there, with his unit all messed up and fried and messed up. And I thought to myself, what would it have been like if he was able to just keep blocking and keep the unit protected and still fight Obi-Wan? This would have been like one of them. He might have killed Obi-Wan. He might have killed Obi-Wan if that hadn't happened. So they had to use that. They have to use that when he fights against another elite Jedi, like when he fought against Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah.
And they did make a comparison to, when she cracked the other side of the face mask and he cracked the right side, I guess. But I just thought it was very funny that a lot of times it seems to be coming down to this point where his armor is destroyed if you can
Yeah.
get close enough to him. And Cataveno Cavalman Che, hello. Um,
Hi. Hello
and
there.
yeah, that's right. He says, so Reba never gets to meet Wally.
That's the little. What was the droid called? Princess Leia's droid.
Oh, it's Lola. But
Yeah, Lola.
she does meet Lola. Wally is from that other
Yeah, it's a
story.
Disney film. He's left on the planet of Disney Pixar, isn't he? He's left on Earth, and I don't know. It's been years since I saw it. I think I slept through most of it. Sam was watching it when she was little.
I have no idea, but I did like Wally. Rogue Thinker says, so Vader knew about Reva from the start, but let her live for more than 2 seconds, then lets her live and she fails him. Doesn't seem like Vader. And Mario Lopez says, I'm so sad with Star Wars that I now see to laugh at it as if it was a parody. I wish I had the willpower to stop laughing. Darth Plato says that Vader has killed for less.
He really
And
has.
yes, and Eric Gant says, I've seen more positivity about the series than negativity. It's all about the voices you choose to surround yourself. This is a good
Sure,
point,
this is the
Aaron.
stuff that I've been reading. There was a couple of threads about it, and I mean, I don't want to go down the road of the divided Star Wars fandom. I think that's been done to death. But clearly, this one has done exactly what most Disney Star Wars has done, and sort of split people in half of old men shouting at clouds, the gatekeepers, and the people who just think, no shit, it's cool. But as I'd just like to reiterate, even if I could forgive it for all of the stuff, I just thought it was poorly executed.
Yeah, it was, in my opinion, as well. Rogue Thinker says exactly, Russ. There are many good elements, but none of it was done well, and it should have been Obi-Wan's story from the start. no Luke, no Leia, no Reva, maybe Vader. And I admit, Russ, that you and I have spoken about this in the past, and I've mentioned this. I wanted it to be Obi-Wan's story when he had fallen in love with Satine for that year where he
Hmm.
protected her.
Yeah,
I really wanted to see that story because what I've noticed is that most of George Lucas's Star Wars stories have some kind of love story in them, and we haven't seen that for a while. And I just cannot believe that there isn't a, of course we already know that that Obi-Wan has had a love in his life, but I kind of want to see it, even if he doesn't get a chance to like consummate this love. I think it could still be a very good story anyway. So
it's
um
something that Disney Star Wars seems to shy away from. I mean, there's no real a love interest is hinted at in Mandalorian. Boba Fett doesn't seem to have one, but there's no sort of like Khan and Leia story going on for any of these characters,
yeah.
and you have to wonder why. Um, and again, I get back to this thing of maybe it's just all too safe. They just don't want to seem to want to take any risks, and that's not going to give you a good product at the end of the day. But conversely, it is a product. It got eyes on. So as far as Disney is concerned, they don't care about, I guess, neckbeards on the internet ranting and raving about how it's ruined their canon and how rubbish it is. They just care that they got eyes on. So as I said at the beginning of the stream, an unqualified success as far as, it's a smash hit.
Well, wouldn't a platonic love story be exactly what they're looking for? I mean, they don't do anything. I mean, at least I don't think he did anything with Satine. I don't think that Obi did anything. He apparently he claims he didn't even know how she felt.
Hmm.
So I just can't believe that they actually did anything physically. And Tom Jr. Jackson says, "I am one of the positive voices." You are Tom Jr. Jackson. Um, and Gary says, Andor is, I'm so looking forward to a new adventure with Andor. A lot of people are looking forward to that. And Retro Nerd Girl says, I agree with Russ. That's something with Satine in it would have been awesome. And then, yeah, it would be. And Darth Plato says, so after failing to kill Vader, Reva's B plan was to kill the child of Vader. That she didn't know.
That Vader didn't know he had. So yeah,
Yeah.
she wanted to kill to take revenge on Vader. I'm going to kill this son of yours that you didn't know you had.
Yeah, I don't know why it was so hard for me to say that.
I don't know.
And I'm going to read a few more. Wow, I'm really behind, aren't I?
Yeah, we should
Um,
catch up.
Stubble says uh, he thought the series was okay, but they dropped the ball, and he thinks it was always going to be difficult making an Obi-Wan
I
series.
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be would have been difficult. I just think they made bad choices from the off. They went to their Star Wars toy box. Don't do it, as Darth Plato was saying earlier on, as I was saying earlier on. Just do something else. Just take him away. He wants, he's got, as Rob's often points out, he's got this survivor's guilt. Let's take him on like something like the mission, with Robert Nero, some sort of religious quest where he can't contact Qui-Gon and he's empty and he's alone and he has to, go on some, and there'll be fights and there'll be stuff, side missions and all the rest of it, but something that just isn't full of member berries that will disrupt stuff. Anyway, what's Eric saying?
Eric says all Star Wars has plot holes we can fall into. Luke grew up on the same planet as a famous pod racer named Anakin, who later became a Jedi, a hero of the Republic, but never heard of him. Hmm.
This is a good point, but I think the issue that I have with it is just the more immediate bad writing. As I said, Eric, I'm fine with it. Go for it. Break the canon, fine. But it's the stuff around it, the stuff that makes no sense, that I can't get over.
Yes, and I am Legend 0000. Hello to you.
Hello.
I think what we really needed is Obi-Wan's journey with Master Qui-Gon at the end of part 6. Everybody wanted that.
Hmm.
Um, Mario says Obi-Wan could kill Vader, so Kenobi could avoid millions. A lot of people are saying that that could have been a game changer. Would people have been fine with that? This is something. Could they have done that? Would people have been like, "What? Vader was killed?" Could Disney Star Wars have gotten away with that?
Well, it depends on how much further we want to get down catching up with the chats, because I do have something I'd like to bring up
Yes.
on
Hi,
on that
Mikey
point.
Lito.
Hi, Mikey.
He says the Orville is great. That's a watching the Orb is great. That's a Disney show. Watching Only Murders in the Building is great. That's a Disney show. Good morning, by the way. So nice to see you. Echo Base Network is here.
Oh,
Hi,
wow. We got
Coach and
famous
Nick.
people on the chat. My
Hey,
goodness.
thank
I'm
you for stopping by. So
flattered
nice to
and
see
honored.
you guys. Yes, check out Mikey Lita's channel and also check out Echo Base Network, guys. We are Echo Base Network for you guys who are Star Wars fans and fans of other genres as well, but definitely Star Wars. Thank you so much, Coach and Nick. I streamed with them the other day,
And it
right
was an
before the
awesome
final.
stream. It was an awesome stream. You did a great job because I know you were knackered as well because you'd been streaming a lot that day, and yet it was just like watching a beautiful swan. You look
Oh,
completely
thank
unruffled,
you.
unfazed. You were there with all the comments. You had the cutting insights as ever, and yet you just come off one stream to go straight onto theirs, and that was a long stream, and it was a very good one. So thank you, Echo Base Network and for that.
Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure, as always, Echo Base Network. I can't wait for the next time I stream with you guys. Mark Goes Blind Gaming. Hey, y'all. Finally, I catch a live one fashionably late. We are so great to have you here, Mark Goes Blind Gaming. And here we have Michael Lito's YouTube channel. Guys, definitely subscribe to Mike. Echo Base Network says, positive thought on Kenobi. I really like the color of space in this show. The black looked really, really good. Well, Echo Base Network, we are always happy to have you here, and go ahead and share your opinions. We share all different types of opinions here. This is our therapy. Share your opinions. If you have to get it out, you absolutely can. Mario Lopez says, I loved that Hayden was called back. So
You
did
are
I.
not alone. You are
I
not alone.
love
That was
Hayden Christensen. I
it
love him.
was especially after all the shit that guy got. I mean, we tend to look back at the prequels with rose tinted spectacles, but I remember it coming out at the time, and people were giving George Lucas a really hard time. You killed my childhood, and blah 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 blah. And it's only now, with the benefit of hindsight, we kind of look back on them as older people and think, do you know what? Actually, as Rob says, I'm parroting a lot of Rob today. They were shit films, but they were good Star Wars. Like the intention behind them was great, but the delivery was pretty poor. But Revenge of the Sith is a really dark movie, and I really like Revenge of the Sith. It's definitely my favorite one, and definitely Hayden's best performance in the thing in the entire trilogy. But again, he had poor direction and poor dialogue. It's suffering from the same thing
Yes,
as
definitely.
this show. Excuse me.
No, I'm sorry. Mike Alito says, I have to check out Eric Gant's channel. He sounds sane. Yes, guys, definitely check out Eric Gant's channel and also check out Echo Base Network, guys. Echo Base Network. We are Echo Base Network, guys. Do check out their channel as well. Darth Plato says, killing Vader doesn't change the future. Only Palpatine's death would do that. And that is such a good point, Darth Plato, to point that out. But boy, what a change they would make. Bloodsport1 says, good morning. What did I miss? You are right on time. You haven't missed that much. We're just talking about the Kenobi series. And Marcos Blind says, this show has so many plot problems and they try to squeeze too much in 6 episodes. So much of it doesn't make sense. Marcos Blind, I think that they could cut this down to a 2-hour movie, remove all the other nonsense like the gate that you can walk around and, the silly scene where you're under a coat or, all those scenes where Kenobi is hiding in the sidelines from Inquisitors. Remove all that stuff. And you could really have, some fantastic show and film on this. And it could be kind of a one-off.
Can you imagine the writer's room? Okay, so how are we going to get her out? And some bloke at the back, with his fag. What did you stick her under her coat? Oh yeah, brilliant idea, Dave. Dave at the back
How we
going,
get
no,
her out.
no, that was a joke.
Mm-hmm.
But and then they literally walk her out under a coat. Anyway, we must carry on.
No, if I think a lot of us, if we were editors in that, we would have seen it. We would have said, this is garbage. This is trash. I want you to start over again. And they just would come up with another idea. Any one of us would have come up with a different idea. And guys, check out Bloodsport1's channel. Who's Bloodsport1 is on YouTube. Please do check him out. Bloodsport1 says the best part of Vader's Force blog that was one of the few good parts of the series. I agree with Russ. Yes, it was badass looking, wasn't it? Bloodsport1, guys. Do check out Bloodsport1's channel. I've got a few more to go. This was quite the Force Clinic Obi-Wan displayed at the end. I have to agree. I wanted to see even more Force abilities in this one, stuff that I hadn't even seen before. The Basco scenario. Hi,
Oh,
the
hey,
Basco
wow.
scenario.
Okay, hello.
So good to see you. He says his helmet was also destroyed by a Star Killer in the Force Unleashed. Now, so we have Ahsoka, we have Obi destroying the helmet, and now you're saying also in the Force Unleashed in that game the helmet was destroyed. So boy, he's taking a lot of knocks. Vader is like getting knocked around like crazy, and I love it. The Basco Scenarios YouTube channel, guys, do check out the Basco Scenarios YouTube channel. And Mikey Lito says, I don't know about anyone else, but as soon as Kenobi Part 6 was done, I immediately watched Star Wars A New Hope. He said in a comment out of left field, absolutely. I think a lot of people did that, Mikey Lito, because we want to continue enjoying the story, just to see how it feels, to see that flow. And I think a lot of people did that with the Clone Wars Season 7, where just at the point where Order 66 happens, and then they went ahead and watched the moments after Order 66 in Revenge of the Sith. So a lot of people kind of did a setup. I could be saying it in the wrong order.
Yeah, I get what you mean, and that's a total nerd thing to do. That is an absolute. I'm wondering why Mikey Leo didn't go in straight into Rogue One, actually. But yeah, it's totally nerdy. I do that stuff as well. So yeah.
So Uptown 2525 says, in my head canon, there's a George Lucas timeline and there's a KK timeline.
Ooh, okay. We'll talk
And
about that in a minute.
Yeah, Mikey Lito says, you are one of the positive voices. I sure hope he's talking about us. The Basco Scenario says, the Star Wars fandom was divided back in the original trilogy. And I remember a lot of that, except there was no social media at the time. Yes, especially for the prequels.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, it was quite a bit. And he goes on to say, yes, I wanted to see it all as well, or even a romance interest in the book, Kenobi, which was great. Yeah, I think that there's a reason why someone had mentioned, and it was someone else in a chat, and I don't know which chat it was, so I'm sorry, whoever you are, said that the reason why they had to have the romance was to balance all the evil in the story. So, I think there is, and then well, thank you, Rogue Thinker. The reason why Vader turned to the dark side was because of love. It's true, I guess. So, but it's still, I still liked it. Simon Parkins says,
hello, Simon.
so good to see you and welcome to the channel. The frustrating thing about the Kenobi series and Disney Star Wars in general is that small changes would easily make it more logical and fix a lot of plot holes. Thank you, Simon, for that. Jordy Lyons, hi, Jordy.
Hey, Jordy.
Says, I'm lurking and watching back here just to say you're amazing. Thank you. And so experienced. Now it's great to see you. Have an amazing day. Thank you so much, Jordy Lyons. It's such a pleasure to see you here as well. And I'm a little bit closer caught up. If Reva killed the child of Vader, wouldn't Vader have felt it even though he didn't? Yeah, that's what I thought. And all this time I'm trying to figure out how he doesn't know that Luke is there. And is someone force shielding? No one's, we know Palps is a huge force shielder. He shielded his abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Does the reason why maybe Luke has the ability to, or Obi-Wan is somebody's force shielding, Palps created, supposedly Anakin by using the force. So any descendant of Anakin would have the ability to force shield themselves because that was a strong point of Palps. This is just pure theory.
Yeah, we can write that into our head canon because it has to be the only way. Because then in episode, was it Empire Strikes Back? That's when the Emperor says, I felt a disturbance in the Force, the son of Skywalker, blah 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 blah. So eventually, Palpatine does pick up on it. But yeah, we'll have to go with that.
Yes, and for all you guys who are tuning in who I haven't seen before as your first time, please do like and subscribe to Positive Fandom. I do need more subscribers. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so please do press the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I do appreciate you all for showing up here and sharing your views. We love hearing what you have to say. The Basco Scenario says, remember, no one was allowed to speak about the Jedi, and they were painted to be the ones against the Council.
Yeah, and then the Sith didn't exactly cover themselves in glory by marching around and massacring whole whole villages of people, just to get to one Jedi. If I was in that, was it Mos Eisley, I'd be going, oh, hang on a second, I'm not sure, I'm not so sure about the stories they've been telling. But yeah, we move on.
Absolutely. Simon Parkin says you could have easily fixed the final Vader Kenobi fight by having Vader escaping Kenobi's death blow at the end. Say he opens a large chasm between them, or Kenobi suddenly feels the danger to Luke. That would have been nice.
That'd have been badass, and it's been established actually, Simon, that Vader can do all this like amazing force pulling stuff, except when it comes to robots. But he could have done something like that. Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, and Mark goes blind gaming uh, says people used to mock the prequels, and they saw the sequels and realized the masterpiece is definitely on that one. I Am
Comparatively.
Legend 000 says, what does it say? It jumps, like on
Oh, okay.
behind the scenes. How that the hidden code idea was silly. Could have easily mitigated by having the snow speeders attack run first, distract most of the stormies, easier for them to escape. Agree. And Echo Base Network says, how cool would it have been to have the first 3 episodes take place during the prequels and the last 3 to take place 10 years later with Vader hunting Jedi down and looking for Kenobi? Yeah.
You make a good point. You make a good point. This is what we were saying, Echo Base. I think the consensus is they just chose to tell the wrong story. That's the main problem with this, and they've got themselves into all sorts of canonical holes, coupled with incredibly inept writing.
Yeah, how do we get in this Disney writing room? Somebody explain to us how we can get into
Yeah.
that writing room. We all want to go in there and, just scratch off whatever's on that dry erase board and put rewrite which should be on there. Please, God help us. I don't think we can take any more. Mark Goes Blind Gaming's channel is on YouTube, guys, so please do check that out. And Retro Nerd Girl says, I thought Tala would be, yes, yes.
They were setting it up, Retro Nerd. They were totally setting it up, and for someone of RM's bent that loves the romance and the this and the that, go ahead, RM.
Oh my God, this would have been so freaking hot. God, I mean, they had chemistry. I really could have seen her with Obi, and this is a difficult part in his life, and she could have been there for him, and he could have been there for her. This could have been stunning. And it could have been a situation where they could have repeated the Satine situation where they were on the run, and he finds himself in this situation, and this time around he's not going to let this woman that he loves get away. Like it could have been that kind of thing where he's saying, I fell in love once, but I'm not going to lose the another love of my life again, or something like that.
Yeah, well, how about he does? How about he says, you know what, sod this. I've spent the last 10 years looking after this little shit, and I'm just miserable. No, I'm going off with you, Indira Varma. We're gonna have a life together. And Obi-Wan makes bad decisions and makes bad choices, and then he has to redeem himself by going back and doing the right thing. Anything other than what they did.
Well, they didn't even afford me one scene where Obi-Wan has his shirt off. Now, I got to see every single inch of Tamora Morrison's body. I have memorized every curve, every bump, everything. And I saw it multiple times with Black Hay throwing him around in his underwear. And I couldn't even see Obi once without a shirt on. Come on, people. This stuff is so unfair.
You need to get into that writer's room. That's all I'm going to say. You and Echo Base Network and Retro Nerd Girl.
He still has sex appeal, and I don't like that they're not focusing on that, because someone had mentioned this before, and it was probably you, Russ, that the Sith are supposed to be seductive and charming individuals. Like, I know that people may not find Darth Maul attractive, but he is very seductive in the way he spoke to Ahsoka when he tells her, you and I have a similar situation. And she's like, oh, how?
Yeah.
Like how? She kind of went, she was very young at the time. And he's like, we both were kind of, pushed away from the groups that we were in. You should join me and we would be very powerful. And Ahsoka's like, yeah, I don't think so, mister, but he was very seductive and very charming and very coy. And
Well,
I'm like, he could get you in some serious trouble. He really
this is the
could.
point. Even if you go back to, even if you don't like the prequel things, it's actually sort of logical how, um, Palpatine seduces Anakin to the dark side. He's going, no, no, you can save the person you love, but you can't learn that stuff from them. You have to do this. Yeah, it's a bit risky, but if you don't want to lose her, just saying, and he makes the decision. And what Palpatine is saying to Anakin is, true as far as he's concerned. But in the end, we see what happens.
Yeah, and Darth Plato says Anakin did what he did because of love, says every abusive husband, father.
Mhm.
Yeah, you make a good point. Cavantino Cavalran Che says, so no call back to the original movie when Obi-Wan scared off the Tusken Raiders. I guess not. Marcos Blind Gaming says, Echo Based Network, guys, you will never get into the Disney writing room. I could list many reasons, but I want to keep it positive. You know something? Wouldn't it be something if one of us ended up in that writing room? I'm just going to throw that out there, Marco's Blind Gaming. Um, Ted Zagaro, hi, and welcome to the channel. I don't
That's
think
a
I've
cool.
ever
That's a cool
seen.
name, Ted. I love it.
It's a shame Disney doesn't want to pay royalties to use the expanded universe stuff. So many good stories they could have used. The new characters Disney has created are weak. And I have to say, yeah, for me, I love the Mandalorian. I do, but I think Finn was the best new character they ever created. We're still
Yeah,
talking about Finn. I think he still has potential. I want to see John Boyega come back and them do something with him. I think he would be spectacular in a standalone film.
I don't think he would. Not after the way that he was treated. I mean, yeah, Ted makes a good
Yeah.
point here about this, and they have this character, uh, person of color, all that sort of thing, that the values that they espouse, and yet turn him into a. I'm not even going to talk about shrinking him on the Chinese posters and all the rest of it. Is what they did to him in the actual story. They just turned him into a joke. It literally made him into like a comedy sidekick, and that's reprehensible because and he had, talking to romance. They, in the Force Awakens, they sort of hint, he's got chemistry with Daisy Ridley. Like it's kind of like, oh, there's something going to happen here. This is going to be, and then no, he's the comedy sidekick.
We
Okay.
know that they would have hooked up. They would have had some biracial kids that would have been
Mm,
strong in the force. It would have been off the charts. It would have been insane. And
mm.
Kylo would have gone after the children. And this time, the dark side knows that these kids exist. This would have been insane. This would have been insane. I think it would have been crazy. I would have loved, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I would have loved to have seen a love scene between Daisy Ridley and John Boyega. I would
Mhm.
have loved that. Oh God, I get chills just thinking about it. Um, so Joker Voice. Hi, Joker
Hey,
Voice.
Joker Voice.
It's good to see you guys. Joker Voice does have his own channel on YouTube, so do check it out. Joker Voice says, Kenobi series had no passion, no soul. It was a ripoff from Rebels. Hashtag Rebels did it better. And Tom Jr. Jackson says, if you're enjoying the content, go ahead and support Positive Fandom by sending a tip. Guys, I really appreciate it. If you have sent a tip, I promise you I will see that tip and thank you for it. And I do appreciate you all showing up today. Please do like and subscribe to Positive Fandom, everybody. And here's Joker Voice's link in the chat. So please do check out Joker Voice's channel. You won't be disappointed. Um,
Absolutely not.
Darth Plato says you would need to learn about the social binary of the oppressed versus the oppressor theme, which is so heavily preached at workshops and seminars. Without it, you're not getting into the writing room. Yeah, yeah, no.
Yeah, well, this is it. This is what they espouse Darth Plato, but then treat Boyega's character like that. I mean, how is that going in line with the oppressor theme? Literally, if that's what they're trying to espouse, then if you want to elevate a character of color, then don't turn him into a fucking joke walking around in a leaking Bacta suit. I mean, it's oh yeah, no, I was a garbage man. Like, come on, guys. Anyway, we move on.
No, Boyega glows on the screen, and there's that
Hmm.
one scene where he holds Daisy Ridley's hand. I think they're in a tent or something, And she's like, why are you holding my hand? He's like, come on, I got to save you. And she's like, okay. And then they kind of like walk away together. And I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. They really kind of, let me down with that one.
Is
Darn
this where we start the hashtag Boyega for Bond?
it.
Yeah.
Yes. And Simon Parkin says, are you guys looking forward to Andor? I admit I am. I always wanted to know more about the formation of the Alliance. Mon Mothma, Admiral Akbar, Dodonna, Garm Bel Ilbis, perhaps. Show me the rebels. Are you excited for Andor, Russ?
Yes, I am. And I say this about every Star Wars show, and I worry that I'm just going to be bitterly disappointed with it. But they're not doing it. It's been shot in England, I think, isn't it? England or Republic Island, I think. Who knows? Yes, I am looking forward to it. Yes, I will watch it, and I just hope that perhaps this time they do go with a more mature theme and actually write a story that doesn't have so many holes in it. Canon be damned. At this point, and I'm wondering, Arum, if I can address that now, or do we still have more points to catch up on here?
Let me see how much I have left here. Not a whole bunch more. What am I? I'm lying. No, it's not so many. I'm just going to do a few more.
Sure.
Ted Zagaro says they kept his shirt on for a reason. No one wants to see those nips. I can guarantee you, Ted,
Yeah.
there are
So
quite a
you
few
speak for
people.
yourself, Ted.
You want to see, Ewan McGregor's beautiful body. There, I said it. I think he's a beautiful man, and it was wonderful to see him again. The Bass scenario says the Jedi's own restrictions were their undoing. People want to see the love interest. We expected something with Tala along with the lines of Luke and Mara Jade. That would be awesome. Tom Jr. Jackson says that Maverick has passed the 1 billion mark on the worldwide box office, making it Tom Cruise's biggest blockbuster hit ever. I am looking forward to Andor, says Mike Alito, because the production is far away from LA and Atlanta. Also, Rogue One is my favorite part of Star Wars.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Cavantino Cavalryman Che says if they only stayed with one of the original theories that Obi-Wan was Rey's granddaughter. Interesting. Also, like our, I wouldn't mind seeing those nips, says Mike Alito. Oh, well, thank you so much, Mike Alito, for having my back there. Um, and Joker Voice says fans are not allowed in the writer rooms. Fans are not allowed. Fans are the enemy.
Mm.
That's very sad. Echo Base Network says, isn't Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni fans? Well, how are they getting into the writers' room?
Yeah.
They should get more fans involved that are professionals. And I think there is a lot to say. Let's say, hypothetically, you're a writer. Star Wars is not your first love, but you want to do a good job. And so, you're going to put your best foot forward in writing, regardless as to whether you love this franchise or not. And you certainly wouldn't write episodes with people hiding under trench coats or going around imaginary checkpoints.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that says a lot in regards to having pride for what you're writing. I wouldn't be proud of those moments if it were me. Simon Parkins says, so thank you, Echo Base Network. You make a
Thanks,
really
guys.
good point on that about being professional as a writer and having that responsibility to your work. You may not love the IP, but you should love what you write. Simon Parkins says, I was so disappointed that Luke never had a family with Mara Jade in Disney Star Wars. I thought the lesson learned in Return of the Jedi was love defeated the dark side, and the EU Luke was more believable than Jake.
Do you
Yeah.
know? I was listening to Chris Gore, and he was on some show, and I forget what it was, and he made a great point about this. Not so much to do with Mara Jade, but it just sparked off something in my head. And by the way, Mara Jade was a fucking fantastic character. When they killed off Luke at the end of The Last Jedi, knowing that the next film was called Rise of Skywalker, Chris's expectation, and this was not my expectation. I checked out after Last Jedi. I haven't even seen Rise of Skywalker. but Chris was saying he was really excited. He thought, "No, this is badass because now Luke's going to come back. You know, he's literally going to come back from the Force and be like really, really more powerful, having learned from Qui-Gon and everybody, and he's going to remanifest. And because it's the rise of Skywalker, and it wasn't."
Yeah, you make such a good point. And we're actually seeing a lot of shows that have titles that lead us to believe it's going to be about one thing, but it actually isn't, is it? Like this is called the Obi-Wan series, but it didn't necessarily feel it was necessarily focused on Obi-Wan. He was the main focus on the story, I guess one could argue, is that the journey to him letting go of Anakin and realizing that he's Darth now. And now he can see the Force ghost of Qui-Gon. But I think that along the way, that huge journey along the way, that really wasn't about him at all. It was just another thing that he had to overcome, but he could have overcome that without going through that journey. In at least that's how I see
It
it.
was the Reaver and Leia show, really.
It was Ted Zagaro, who's has a YouTube channel, guys. Check out Ted Zagaro's YouTube channel, guys. Here, the link is in the chat. Says the expanded universe stuff had to be approved through Lucasfilm, video games, novels, and comics that fans have accepted and would have been great to see in live action maybe one day. Yeah, definitely. That's what we're all hoping for. I know I'm keeping my fingers crossed and praying, that we see. I'd like to see an adult version of a Star Wars story. I just one, where it is brutal and difficult and just
There's rumored that they're
heartbreaking.
doing Star Killer now, aren't they? So maybe that'll be the one, but I doubt it under Disney. I very much doubt that you're going to get anything other than PG under Disney.
Well, Joker Voice says, nope, the title of the show may be Andor, but I guarantee it's going to be Mon Mothma's show.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what we're seeing is that we're seeing a lot of titles, and then the actual content is different from what we would expect. Simon Parkin says the fact that Luke and the New Republic made all the same mistakes as the Old Republic and the old Jedi Order was just ridiculous. Well, something, I agree with you in that regard, but we haven't even seen, let's say for many of us who haven't read everything about the Old Republic, I want to see more stories about the Old Republic made. And, they have such a rich history, such a long history in their interpretations of what it's like to have an order. Like from the Jedi to the Jedi, and their interpretations. You must have a different interpretation of what it is to be on the light side versus the dark side 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. There must be some different kind of interpretation. And we haven't experienced that. And
No, it's interesting. I was listening to a thing yesterday. It was talking about G canon and T canon and C canon and all that stuff. But one of the things that the guy on the video was talking about, it's called Sheev Talks or something like that. I think the guy's name was. He was saying that they did something quite clever I think it might have been on one of the TV shows, because Obi-Wan says in Star Wars, for over 1,000 generations, the Jedi were the guardians of peace, of justice, in the Old Republic. And Palpatine in I think in Revenge of the Sith says, the Republic has stood for 1,000 years. But it was only that iteration of the Republic after some battle where they thought the Sith had been destroyed 1,000 years ago. So that iteration of the Republic has stood for 1,000 years, but there's actually 20,000 years of Republic history that anyone other than absolute Star Wars nerds know a hell of a lot about. And I don't know a lot about the Old Republic. So yeah, go back in time, do something that isn't going to mess too much with the current canon.
Yes, and Mike Alito says Russ is violating one rule: watch content, form opinion.
I don't know what he's referring to
He
there.
means Andor, I think, because we haven't
Andor,
seen
okay,
it.
yeah. Well, as I said, I want it to be good, but I fear it won't. But
And
based on
Michael,
that track record.
yes, Mike Alito has his Pride banner on. Today is a Pride Day here in New York with a Pride Parade, which is probably going to be on at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock today. So, Mike Alito, I did see that you changed that, and thank you for showing that to us. Bloodsport One says, I'm not excited for Andor anymore. It's going to be the same thing. Corny dialogue, bad directing. They screwed up Kenobi. How did they do that? This is something to think about. And, as a high echo based network, again, good for Top Gun. We certainly do love Top Gun and very happy for Tom Cruise and all his hard work. Norwegian Kryptonian says hello. Well, hello, Norwegian
Hello, Norwegian
Kryptonian.
Kryptonian.
It's so nice to see you. And it is something to think about, when we're going forward and, worrying about what these series are about. I'm trying to let go of the worry because it kind of destroys for me just being able to enjoy some of the stuff. And we do know, technically speaking, with a track record, and this is what Darth Plato is getting at, that there has been errors in post sequels. The Mandalorian and Rogue One is proof that Disney can work, but we also, a lot of people could argue that the prequels had errors in it.
Yeah, they all Star
Like
Wars has errors, and there are plot holes. Like somebody was pointing out earlier on, uh, Tatooine is the spot of the famous pod racer Anakin Skywalker, who becomes a hero of the Republic, and then you've got this other kid. Yeah, there is stuff like that. I just think with the Kenobi show, the writing and the holes and the poor decision making was so evident. It was so in your face, and you've got a 30-40 minute show, and it was so close to each other. You just couldn't ignore it. You couldn't ignore it. It was right there in your face. Why did you make that decision? Why did you do this? So, literally the line, have you come to destroy me? No, mate. You chased me to this planet. Yeah.
yes, I came to destroy you. No,
Yeah.
but you make a good point. Simon Parkins says, and Russ, great team up, loving the channel. Well,
Well,
thank you,
thanks
Simon.
so much, mate. Cheers.
We appreciate you being here. And Joker Boy says Sheev Talks is a good channel, and Sheev is the name of Palps, right? That's Palps' first name,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So this
That
guy's
is,
an absolute Star Wars nerd. The
yeah.
video I was listening to was called "The Problem with Filoni," and he was
Ah.
complaining about how stuff is, and then he was talking about the levels of canon and how because T canon sort of trumps book and C canon, which is comic book canon and EU canon, like Filoni just sort of tends to go in and just take things from it and then mess up that. And then what happens is with the expanded universe, because this video was set at the beginning of season 1 of The Mandalorian, how Filoni's decisions sort of messed up a lot of what happened in canon, and certain things that happen now can't happen. If it's a long video, but basically,
Well,
yeah,
yeah. I
he's
mean,
he's an absolute nerd. He really, really, really knows his stuff. And as to fans in the writers' room, often occurred to me, and yeah, I thought Fox should have done this with Aliens. There's a guy on a forum called Aliens versus the AVP forum. He goes under the handle of SM, and the guy is an absolute encyclopedia of alien lore. Right? Get him in the writers' room as a consultant. The same with Star Wars. Why haven't they got someone like Theory in there to say, look, I don't think this is going to land with the fans at all. I think this, and I think that. I have a couple of, of high profile, really well known nerds, fans, and they can take it or leave it. I mean, they don't have to do what Theory would say here, but have him in the room and say, you know what, guys, I don't think we should go down this road because you're going to really get yourself into a hole when you start bringing in Princess Leia this close to when she gets involved in Star Wars. It's literally 9 years away. Do something else. It might be an idea, but of course they don't have to. As I've said many times on the stream, it's an unqualified success. It's a smash hit as far as Disney are concerned. So who cares what neckbeards think?
yeah, you make a good point, Russ. And I think that those suggestions you have would make such a difference in the series on a whole. Tom Jr. Jackson says, thank you to all the new people who have come by today and
Mm.
joined. And we're welcoming you to the channel. Yes,
Yeah,
agreed,
thanks
Tom
so
Jr.
much.
Jackson. Thank you. Joker Boy says Darth Bane was 1,000 years ago. Revan and the Old Republic about 3,000. Thank you, Joker Voice. I know I said 10,000.
Mm.
But, I think that their impression of what it was like to be a Jedi is very different. And I think that we get some of that impression from some of the games, like Knights of the Old Republic. They have a different approach or a different feel than how, let's say, and of course, the game is not a measure of what every single Jedi is going to feel and experience, but
Mm.
I think it has a different, mindset compared to how the interpretation of being a Jedi is now. And I don't want to get too much into it, but I do like that we see something different. We get to experience a different, sense of culture of what being a Jedi is. And Eric Grant says, on the whole, the EU feels more authentic to me than anything I've seen from Disney. Mara Jade Jaina and Jason Solo, young Anakin, Ben Skywalker, compelling and heartbreaking stuff.
You're right, Eric. This is an insane decision by Disney to come in and say we're chucking all that stuff out. If they look, I'm sure that the EU has its, it splits in its fan base, but on the whole, let's look back at before Heir of the Empire came out. Like, if not for Heir of the Empire, really, would we still be talking about Star Wars to this day? I don't think we would. And this is something that Sheev Talks pointed out, and it really made me think: would we really be thinking about that? No, we probably wouldn't. And it was that book, which was a massive hit, New York Times bestseller, all of that, that gave rise to the games, that gave rise to the comics, that kept the fan base of a pretty much over and done with franchise going, current, real, and vibrant. And they were telling good stories because some of those novels were absolutely brilliant. So yeah, absolutely, Eric, absolutely.
And Echo Base Network says the writers involved in Andor have a good track record. So I have some faith in the show, but I will still proceed with caution because of Disney's track record. And I think that that's
That's where
how
I'm at. That's where I'm at, Echo Base.
me three. Rogue Thinker says, who really knows the name of the famous racer 35 years ago that won a race, then joined the military on another world? And I'm assuming he's talking
Yeah,
about.
because somebody else was saying about Anakin, the famous pod racer that won the blah, 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 and then went off. So yeah, it's a good counterpoint, which is what I like. Okay, so that's a decent counter argument to that, So yeah, fair enough. There's debate around that. I would say, yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. And he goes on to say it's a little messed up when the writers of a show are proud to say they never saw the source material and don't talk about it. And I'm sorry, they saw the source material. Everybody's seen Star Wars, haven't they?
Yeah, I think he's more referring to the EU stuff and Clone Wars. Clone Wars is a standout amongst Star Wars, dare I say, true Star Wars fans. It's established so much good stuff. The writing was really good. Everything was, pretty much good about that show, and they just, well, they didn't toss out Clone Wars, did they? But the expanded universe stuff they tossed out, yeah.
Right. And sorry, Joker Boy says Jobby Harold was supposed to be the quality writer that Kenobi had, replacing the original writer. Yet that original writer's name is credited on 4 Kenobi episodes. And Cavantino Cavalryman Che says, great call back from the original movie. Would be having Obi-Wan visiting Tosh Station and picking
Toshi
up some
Station,
power
yeah.
converters. And Mikey Lita says, be like Tom, approach new content with anticipation and excitement.
It's hard to, Mikey. Sorry, you're reading that out, Aura, when I read
No,
it
no, I'm
fast on
done.
you.
I'm
Okay,
finished.
it's just hard to, given what we've seen. This is the problem. The only thing that they're doing consistently well at the moment is Mandalorian. You know, say what you like, whatever way you go with the Gina Carano thing. Regardless of that character, who was excellent. She was excellent, fantastic, and we love her, or I love her certainly. Um, that's the only good thing at the moment that we've got. And when you go into shows like Boba Fett with such high anticipation of thinking, well, as we said before, I always thought Mandalorian should have been the Boba. He should have been Boba Fett, right? That should have been him. And then they deliver this, the rematch of the century, and it's just nonsense. It's really hard to sort of. It's like having your heart broken over and over again. You're getting into a new relationship with Andor now, and there's always going to be that part of you just think, oh God, what if Andor cheats on me the same way that Boba Fett and Obi-Wan did? That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and Retro Nerd Girl says, I'm skipping Andor. Maybe I'll catch it if I hear good things. I think a lot of people will be doing that
And
going
that's
forward.
bad. And that's bad for Disney, right? So if people do skip it, maybe the message will start to land. How many fans like Retro Nerd Girl um, are going to check out? I think this is, I've had my heart broken too many times. I can't watch this anymore. And you're
Well,
starting to lose those long-term fans, and you're going to get casuals. You're always going to get casuals, and casuals are the basis of the audience, right? Yeah, hardcore fans are not, but casuals are not enduring fans. That they're not going to keep coming back. They're not going to buy the toys. They're not going to buy the video games. They're not going to buy the books. Connected with it. So if
well,
you look, if you lost Retro Nerd Girl, who else have you lost? Sorry, RM.
no, no, no. You You're fine.
I'm done.
I want to add to that because there is a lightsaber that is a HasLab lightsaber, and of course, HasLab makes these commissioned um, uh, pieces. You know, I bought the Razor Crest, and I love my Razor Crest. It is
Hmm.
fantastic. It's one of the best things I've ever bought. I bought it from HasLab, and what I've noticed is that if you look at it, the latest offering is the lightsaber that Riva uses, the Inquisitor lightsaber, and they need 5,000 people to make their goal. But so far, in the 3 weeks that it was announced, maybe 4 weeks, they only have 1,000 people, 1,000 plus people who have purchased it. So I don't think they're going to make their goal. It's a $500 lightsaber. And normally lightsabers sell like hotcakes. Like, you know,
Mm.
they're like, people collect, you know, 5 and 6 different sabers. It's a big deal. When I went to Disneyland, people were waiting online to go in and see all the new lightsabers and just even check them out. There was a line just to even look at them.
Wow.
So, you know, I'm very surprised that that saber has not sold. And I think the reason why is because the character did not relate to people. She just what didn't. And people aren't like looking up to that character and saying, I think this is the best character. I'm so excited for this character. But from the very beginning, when she was introduced, they didn't have that spin on it. What should have been, we're so excited to see this actress. She's going to be great. You're going to love this character. It's going to be amazing. Instead, they started out with the opposite, you know, in somewhat of a negative comments about her. And as soon as you start doing that with an actor, you know, it's like you're not even paying attention to their work. The work's not important. You know, their
Exactly.
performance is not important. You know, that I would be very upset if and I've said this before, as an actor, as a performer, I would be very upset if my employer came out of the gate talking about me and not saying how fantastic I was and how happy they were to have me on board.
Mm, mm.
So, you know, we didn't hear that. And, you know, a lot of focus was on other things. That makes it very difficult to establish a character, but it makes it even more difficult for the actor who's involved. So, how are you going to promote a you know, a toy, or let's say a collectible, on a character that hasn't been even promoted right from the beginning? Hasn't The marketing campaign for her was been very poor. It should have been like, she should have been coming out. They should have had a picture of her in the Inquisitor outfit with the saber like this, and that should have been on the cover of Vanity Fair. You
Yeah.
know, like that should have been what they led with. Or maybe she could have the lightsaber, I'm sorry, between her legs or something. You know, like go ahead and just work this thing. You know, like do something very clever and maybe a little, you know, cheeky. I don't know, but that's, you know, I wouldn't have led with a negative. It would have been like, what is she doing with that lightsaber? You know, like, and then put all the focus on the fun part of it, the scary part, and you know, just like don't get between me and my lightsaber. You know, like
Yeah, yeah.
just go ahead and have a little fun with this. This could have been something that could have gone in a completely different way, as far as I'm concerned, everybody. Um, Joker Voice says his latest recommendation video recently dropped, so please do check it out. Simon Parker says, and we're just about to wrap up here, ought to release a saber as a HasLab special. Other obscure sabers were just released without HasLab campaign. For example, Revens. Yeah, you know something, Simon, I can't answer why they are doing this now. I don't know. But you know, you make a good point. And it is a very long saber. It's like 6 feet long. I saw it at Star Wars Celebration, and you know, it's enormous. So now this is going to be, I guess, maybe our final comment before we close off the show. I can't believe it's almost 2 hours. Woodrow, hi Woodrow, says we didn't see enough of the Emperor. In the comics, he's always tormenting Vader. Yes,
Yes, he
without
is.
making it obvious, and the two are at odds. It's pleasantly sadistic. I wanted to see the interaction that I wanted to see between Vader and Kenobi was that Vader was in one of those horrible trips that Palps is sending him on to test him, and Vader's all effed up. He's in trouble, and somehow Obi shows up, and they have to fight together to get out of something. I wanted to see something like that, something that was very contradictory. Why would
Mm.
Vader ever be fighting with Obi-Wan Kenobi? Because they both had to get the hell out of there. And
Sure.
then, you know, what do you do after that when you weren't expecting to fight with somebody who's now your enemy, but you had to do it because you had to get the hell out. I wanted to see Vader sweat, not because he's fighting Obi necessarily, but because Palpatine just keeps digging at him. He keeps messing with
Yeah,
him, saying, "I need you to go to such and such. It's 10 parsecs from here, and I'll see you when you get back." And that usually means you're going to get effed when you get there, and you're going to have to fight your way, claw your way out,
yeah.
to survive, which he does a lot in the comics.
He
But
does,
yes,
yeah. I read that Darth Vader cycle. There's one thing I'd like to say in our last, we've got 15 minutes left or something like that.
yes.
I think what I would like to see um, is actually to have now the original trilogy decanonized. I would actually like it now if Disney Star Wars went ahead and remade, Star Wars Empire and Return of the Jedi in the way that they want to make it, and just decanonize the original trilogy so that it can be left as a museum piece for old fossils like myself, and no one's going to get bent out of shape. Okay. Yeah, there'll be howls of outrage when they say that they're going to remake the original series. Of course they will, but I think that the damage that they're doing to Star Wars as it was is now getting to be irreparable. It's too much. It's not making any sense. The the ideology and the story slant and the subtext, even though it's pretty blatant subtext that Disney want to do, are almost completely at odds with what George Lucas was doing. And I rather feel that if now you go from this Obi-Wan Kenobi series where you've made all of these holes and errors and mistakes, and people are bending themselves out of shape trying to justify everything, just go ahead and remake them, make them fit with your sequels. And we have some mechanism whereby the original trilogy leads on to the expanded universe, and yes, so the original trilogy becomes Legends, and the remakes and the series leading up to those remakes are now canon, and then they can do what they want. They can have all of their messaging in there. They can do all of that stuff, and it all fits, and it's all perfect. And the people who love their canon can say, well, the original series is part of Legends, and that canon all works because they had that one chap whose very job it was to make sure that all of these things fitted and worked. And then you've got the other stuff now. You've got Disney Star Wars, and they've remade the original trilogy, and it fills in all the holes. And the message from Princess Leia is, "Oh my God, do you remember that time when we had to do this thing? You'll never guess what's happened. I've been captured, and R2D2, and it all fits." And Disney can put their messaging in there. Everyone's a winner.
Well, that is an interesting approach. And as Darth Plato says, Seditio EMS, there is already a revolution. Mike Alito is saying, you want a revolution.
Hmm.
And people have been suggesting that this is the direction that, Disney Star Wars is going in, to remake that. And I guess they'll remake everything. But it is something to think about. And I did want to ask you, Russ, where can people find you?
Usually here, I have a website that's like a million years out of date, but you can always get hold of me at contact@russellwhitfield.com. But more importantly, where can people get hold of you, RM?
Guys, you can always find me here on Positive Fandom on my YouTube channel as well as my Twitch channel. I stream on both platforms at the same time. Please do like and subscribe, Positive Fandom. I'm trying to get to 1,000. And for everybody who's here in the chat, thank you for coming by today. And for people who will be watching it at a later date, I appreciate it as well. But you can always find me Monday nights on Toxic Femininity with Lorena Creel and Nina Infinity at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, sometimes you can find me on the 1/6 Scale Man Network, either on Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels. I also stream with Lorena Creole on her Twitch channel on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on our Toxic Male Appreciation Show. Fridays at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, I am on Midnight's Edge in the Morning with Tom Connors and Andre. Sometimes on the weekends, you can find me streaming with Robert Meyer Burnett on the Post Geek Singularity Show, Midnight Musings. Of course, you can find me here on Sunday Brunch every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And coming up this week, I'm going to be reviewing uh, I think it's I'm trying to remember what movie it is on Saturday with Lorena, and next week We're going to be reviewing. I have to look it up. We're going to be reviewing. Wow, is it already July 2nd? Yeah.
26th of June today. Sorry, I'm being attacked by a
Yes,
dog
so I
here.
won't be doing anything that day. But that's everything, guys. Please subscribe to my channel. I do appreciate you all coming out here, giving your comments. Guys, subscribe to everybody's channel here in the chat. Farewell, everybody. Guys, certainly do like and subscribe. And thank you for joining the channel. And thank you to Tom Jr. Jackson. We are all good people, my collaborator and friend and moderator. And as Tom has already beat me to the punch here, wherever you are and throughout the known galaxies, please remember, everybody out there, remember to please be kind and take care.
See you later, guys. Thanks so
Bye.
much.